All right, folks. No more calls today. We're going to get to a few pieces of sound. And let's start with this one. This is incredible. Basically, Fox is still drumming up fear about the migrant caravan. No doubt it served its purposes for stoking up the fantasies and the racism of the base during the midterms.
Still got them crushed, though.
Yeah, still got them. Exactly. They still lost the House by historic margins, and the races they won were ones that they should have won. And if they lost, it would be even more catastrophic. So 2018 was a total disaster for the Republican Party. And now, as Trump drags the country through this catastrophic shutdown, Fox needs to turn the propaganda machine back on to full thrust to freak out their old and uninformed viewers. And so what do? Well, they get Brian Kilmeade in studio, and then they send some asshole in Guatemala to harass people, or some asshole to Guatemala to harass people on the street. Let's check it out.
What is Mexico going to do different this time, Steve?
You really, as we can see, some more, it looks like very young men here. ¿Cuántos años usted? He looks to be about 16 or 17, most of them carrying just one sack. And strangely enough, a lot of the young men that I've talked to had absolutely no money in their pockets for what could be a month-long trip. One man told me today, I'll rely on people on the road to feed me. We haven't seen any handouts. We haven't seen any financing. We have seen some like church soup kitchen lunches, people providing for the migrants, but largely they've really been on their own. It's mainly...
Right. So basically, the appropriate reading of this, both ethically and analytically, is so people are leaving situations that are so desperate that they're willing to walk miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles without money, without food, without any basic necessities guaranteed, in an attempt to get refuge in a country that everybody knows is run by an incompetent racist sociopath who's caging children, where 2 children have died. And yet you're still trying to make this escape. So the natural question for anybody that wasn't totally stupid, totally evil, would be, what the hell is going on in a place like Guatemala that people would want to go there? And then that person would go, what kind of trade agreements like CAFTA has the United States imposed on poor countries in Central America? What kind of governments from the 80s to today that are oligarchic governments, I'll use that word like Feldman, that are in bed with U.S. corporations and violent narco traffickers that we support with aid and military assistance? Or even on the flip side, in a place like Guatemala, where the United States is both aggressively interfering with and trying to destabilize the government, and at times, certainly that government is having a repressive response. What are all the things happening there that we are a part of through our policies that lead to that? And even incidentally, if we want, because frankly, look, I think everybody should be able to go and spend time wherever the hell they want, obviously. But I do think most people, it's a truism, most people would like very much if where they grew up and were born was a nice place that they could stay in. That is most human beings' desires. Even inside the United States. Talk to people, it's like, oh man, I didn't want to leave where I grew up, but there was no opportunity there. So they had to move to some city or somewhere else. So the obvious answer for everybody, even if you have some concern about this migration, which I have zero concern with, is what are the conditions behind it? And what do you think? Like these kids that you're harassing are just doing this for fun?
Or also, like, what can I do to help? Like when I see someone who's in that much trouble, like the human and humane reaction is to say, wow, is there anything we can fucking do?
No doubt.